Epstein staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's doing great out there. Happy Wednesday. It is Pushing the Limits, and you could be watching, listening on my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. Of course, we also have the website, pushingthelimits.live, Really American Network, and ever so growing PTL family. We appreciate you all being here. Boy, is there a lot to go over today and a lot to talk about what is going on in Washington, D.C. And it also happens to be Wednesday. He did a good job filling in for me, co-hosting with Paul Lance when I was out. Of course, Leonard Cardinale joining me at co-hosting today. Leonard, and you came on a very busy day today, that is for sure.
There is so much to go over, and the victims of the Epstein case speaking out. And thanks again for having Paul and I. We had a good time, a lot of fun.
You guys did a great job. I appreciate you being here today as well. So I can't believe I'm about to say this, but on this issue, I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. I'm talking about the Epstein files. So in Washington, D.C. today, we heard from some of the victims. My heart goes out to them, by the way.
It was
victims of Jeffrey Epstein and any other monster that was associated with him. And I'm going to get to Marjorie Taylor Greene in a moment. But I think it's important to hear the voices of the victims of that monster, Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell. So this is one of the victims who spoke in D.C. today. They held a press conference with Ro Khanna, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and others. And this is one of the survivors saying that she would compile her own list of abusers who frequented the island
Great
and
moment.
plane.
Moment.
Have a listen to this.
Transparency is justice. Release the files, end the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law. And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that. Because history is watching, and so are the women who will come after us.
Really powerful stuff. So how is Donald Trump responding to all of this, Leonard? Well, moments after this press conference, Donald Trump was asked about these victims that were speaking out and about the Epstein files. The guy who's actually in the Epstein files, how does he respond to this? He calls it a hoax. Have a listen to this.
Or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about because they're going to talk about the Epstein whatever.
Yeah, the Epstein whatever. He calls it a hoax while there are women outside of the White House just blocks away in Washington, D.C., talking about how they were victims of sexual assault. And you have this orange rapist ape. That's what I will call him, the orange orangutan rapist, who is saying that the Epstein files is a hoax. Here's another victim, Leonard, who came forward, who revealed that Jeffrey Epstein's biggest brag was the fact that he knew Donald Trump. Have a listen to this.
With Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their famous or powerful friends, and his biggest brag forever was that he was very good friends with Donald Trump. He had an 8x10 framed picture of him on his desk with the two of them. Like, they were very close.
So there you have a victim talking about Epstein always bragging about how close he was with Donald Trump. And what's Donald Trump's response? about the files that were released. Oh, yeah, by the way, what did the Republicans release? 3% of the Epstein files.
Or less.
Or less.
Some
Meaningless,
say 1%.
Right, meaningless stuff. And Donald Trump decides to brag about that. Have a listen to this.
Nobody's going to talk about, because they're going to talk about the Epstein, whatever. I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from two people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
Yeah, I actually believe you don't want to talk about Epstein, and yeah, you want to talk about this great 8 months. Notice how everything he does is deflection. Everything he does. And on that committee, that Republican committee, every single one of them voted to not release the Epstein files. They are covering for a pedophile. They are covering for a sexual abuser who I believe was involved in sex trafficking at Mar-a-Lago. And the last clip that I want to play, Leonard, then I want to get your thoughts on all of this. The last clip, I can't believe I'm going to say this, because I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene is a despicable, not I believe, I know. She's a racist. She's a bigot. She's homophobic.
Bad built butch body.
Yeah, she's a horrendous human being. But I have to give her credit on this one. Now, this is really interesting.
She's on the right side of this one.
I have a clip that I'm going to play for you because I think Manu Raju does a great job on CNN. This is mesmerizing audio.
Yeah.
So apparently Marjorie Taylor Greene, self-admittingly, had a meeting with Donald Trump earlier today in the Oval Office, pleading with him, will you please meet with the victims? By the way, I applaud Marjorie Taylor Greene for doing this. I think it's admirable that she is doing this.
Yeah.
I think it's admirable that Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace, who I think are all despicable
And
people.
he said he'll get back to her, right?
Yeah. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is begging Trump, will you please meet with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein? And I want you to listen to this exchange. I do believe Marjorie Taylor Greene's telling the truth here. And Trump didn't even give her an answer. Geez, I wonder why. Have a listen to this.
And this isn't a hostile act towards the administration. The hostile act has been against these women for so many years now. The hostile act is covering up for Jeffrey Epstein and everyone else that's been involved in this. And that's the real hostile act. I look forward to talking with President Trump about these women that I've met. I also encouraged him already this morning that he should have these women in the Oval Office. They deserve to be there.
You spoke to him?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And I told him I'd be happy to set that up, arranging with their attorney by sharing his phone number.
What was his reaction to that?
I haven't got an answer back on that, but I am continuing to encourage him that these are the people that deserve to be in the Oval Office, not any of Jeffrey Epstein's rich, powerful friends.
We know what the answer
There
is.
you have one of the biggest staunch Donald Trump supporters pleading with the president, we have these Epstein victims, will you please meet with them? Donald Trump doesn't even give her an answer. Heck, Donald Trump might have actually abused some of these women himself. We don't know. And he doesn't give her an answer. Now, why would he not give her an answer? Why?
Because I'm thinking, according to the victims, that they might start naming names. And to watch those women go up there and bare their soul, so to speak, in front of everyone and stand there and tell the truth and stand up to power was mesmerizing. Like I couldn't take my eyes off the TV watching these women just lay it down.
And by the way, they're very brave. To be able to come forward like that cannot be an easy thing to do. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump is in those Epstein files. I believe that Donald Trump had sex with underage women. I believe that Donald Trump is trying to do everything and anything he can do to stop this conversation, to end this conversation, which, by the way, it's not going to end. You even have some of Donald Trump's staunchest supporters in these three women.
Well,
Lauren
the Nancy
Boebert,
Mace thing was a little embarrassing when she went running down the hallway crying, and maybe she has a triggered her past.
Well, I don't really care about.
She's not a great person.
No, I don't really care about her crying. But you have three of the biggest Trump supporters you can find that kiss his ass, and Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. They have to know they have to know, even though I believe, especially Marjorie Taylor, we're very ignorant, they have to know
Well,
that
women,
Trump
know.
did some very wrongdoings and he's in the Epstein files. They have to know. Marjorie Taylor Greene has to know, based on the way Trump didn't answer her question, that he is responsible for some of this stuff. They have to know.
Women have an intuition, and and women throughout my life, and even my wife, they admit that they get a certain feeling when they're around certain kind of men, and it makes them uncomfortable without knowing anything about their past. And then Donald Trump's trying to pivot, talking about how great. Well, let me ask you this: the tariffs are about to blow up in his face. He lost the court case. The tariffs are illegal, and if they have to pay him back, that's $200 billion. So when he's in the Oval Office trying to deflect away from Epstein with how great he's doing, he's not really doing great at all. And I believe that list is gonna probably push a lot of things to the limit, because these women are going to create a list, and like the woman said that was up at the mic, we know the guys. They sent us to their houses. We know who they are.
And I want all of you to think about this. Moments after this press conference, literally minutes.
A minute or two.
After Jeffrey Epstein victims, who were victims of sexual abuse, after they spoke about their stories, pleading with Donald Trump
in detail
to release the files, moments after that, Donald Trump was calling it a Democratic hoax.
But who
Can you
started the whole
imagine?
thing?
Can you imagine for a moment if, for example, the rumors were circulating? Let's use Joe Biden as an example here. And by the way, Joe Biden's nowhere near the Epstein files, and he didn't know Jeffrey Epstein, but I'm just using this as a hypothetical. Let's just say all this evidence was overwhelming that Joe Biden was on Epstein Island and he was in the Epstein files. And then moments after victims spoke out, Joe Biden called it a Republican hoax. Republicans would be losing their minds right now.
It would be in the news cycle 24 hours a day for
You see what
at
I'm
least
saying?
a week.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it is unmistakable, unthinkable what Donald Trump continues to do. And I'm having a dispute with somebody who does this show that's on the right on social media today, defending Donald Trump, telling me just because he's in the Epstein files doesn't mean he did anything wrong.
Well, we don't have proof yet. But who started this, Brian? That's what I didn't mean to interrupt you,
MAGA,
but
the
that's what I
MAGA
was
cult.
going to ask you.
The MAGA cult.
Who ran on this? Who got elected on this? That there's a cabal, and it's Democrats, and it's worldwide, and it's a bunch of young girls, and it's a sex cult, or whatever they were calling it. He's acting like the Democrats for the ones who started this.
I'm going
whole
to tell
thing,
you
and
this right now.
Well,
I'm going to tell you this right now. We know. Here's what we know.
yeah, they scrubbed 100,000 pages.
Here's what we know. We know that Donald Trump is doing anything and everything he can do to not talk about the Epstein files. Number two, we know that Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for over a decade. We also know that Jeffrey Epstein said that on tape. Number three, we know that Donald Trump spent a lot of time with Jeffrey Epstein, even at his parties with women. Number four, we know that there were very young girls that were working at Mar-a-Lago. We know of at least one girl that Jeffrey Epstein took away from Mar-a-Lago.
That Trump was upset about.
Number five, we know for a fact that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are not putting out the evidence that they have and that they know. And probably most important than anything that I have mentioned is that Donald Trump doesn't care about the victims. Because if he cared about the victims, even if he's in the Epstein files, which he is, he would speak to the victims, and he would try to do anything and everything he could do to give them justice. The reason why he's not is because he's a part of it. So I say yes, we know. Donald Trump is very predictable, and we know that if there were just Democrats on that list, he would have released them yesterday.
Yep.
But he won't do that because he's on this list. We also know that he was on the Epstein plane at least 7 times in the Maxwell trial.
The Lolita Express.
Yeah, didn't even mention that. And we also know that as soon as Donald Trump's personal attorney met with Maxwell, she was sent to a Club Med, one of the biggest sex traffickers in the history of this country. You add all those layers together, in my personal opinion, Donald Trump is a pedophile, a rapist, all over the Epstein files. And I don't think he's the only person that's in there. I think many of the people that have donated a lot of money to him and many prominent people, perhaps on both sides of the aisle, are in that list. And I don't care. Joe Biden should have released it. I will say any president should have released it. But that is not an excuse for Donald Trump's behavior.
Well, the political pressure and the media pressure was different during the Biden administration. So Jeffrey Epstein was already on his way to jail, and Ghislaine Maxwell was already in jail. So you have to look at you have to make it time consistent. Now everybody wants the files because that's the focus. But at the time, there were people going to jail. There were people getting investigated. The lady from the Miami Herald in 2018 wouldn't let it go, and that's what really forced the investigation on Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right. So here's where we're at today. Donald Trump is continuing to do everything he can to make sure that these files are not released. By the way, against many in his base.
Who does that, Brian? Let me interrupt you. Who does that? Like, if you're in the files, would you be like, no, don't release the files?
The only
I would say,
person-
I'm not in the files, release the files.
Right. The only
and you'll
person
see.
that would act the way Donald Trump is acting is someone that's guilty,
Yeah.
somebody that's in the files, somebody that probably broke the law and did some terrible things. So that's where we're at right now, while victims, and by the way, my friend Gloria Allred spoke today as well.
I missed that. Did she?
She represents a few of these people that were victims
like
of
her.
Epstein, and I spoke with her briefly today. You have victims out there that are emotional, rightfully so, that were abused. I absolutely 100% believe them. And they're pleading with Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump met with at least one staunch Trump supporter, that being Marjorie Taylor Greene, who self-admitted that she asked Donald Trump and pleaded with him, please meet with these victims. He has not given her an answer because he does not want to meet with these victims, because he doesn't want the truth to come out. So that is where we are at, ladies and gentlemen, as a country. For those of you that still support Donald Trump, he is a pedophile. He is also a pedophile enabler. And quite frankly, I'm going to say it like this. Anybody right now who still supports Donald Trump, you support pedophiles.
What about the Republicans that are voting no? What does it say about them? What exactly does it say about them?
Means they
that
don't
they're
care.
voting no.
Yep.
And then one of the Republicans tried to say, and they clarified this in the meeting. One of them tried to say that we're voting no because we're protecting victims, and the victims were standing there saying, "We're the victims, and we're saying this is my name."
Listen. You being
So
a
it's
former
BS.
cop, I'll make another analogy. It's very convenient for Republicans to say they back the blue, unless it's January 6th.
They don't. back
Unless
the
you
blue.
beat police officers on January 6th, then we'll back the president. You deserve a pardon, and you're a hostage and a patriot. These Republicans are full of crap. They are the biggest hypocrites on the planet. They are despicable human beings. They don't care about the safety of kids. They claim drag queens are more of a threat to children than guns and gun violence. And every single time we have one of these mass shootings, it's thoughts and prayers. Every single time they talk about child sex trafficking, you bring up the Epstein files and Donald Trump, and many of them don't want to talk about it. You bring up gun control. They don't want to talk about it. They want to talk about religion and the nuclear family. Every single time you bring up something that they're concerned about. By the way, anybody that's concerned about child sex trafficking, I'm with you. I'm concerned about it too. But I'm consistent because I don't give a damn whether there's Republicans or Democrats on that list. I want the list released. And Donald Trump won't do that because he's on the list. Donald Trump won't do that because I guarantee you he has had sex with minors and he has had the improprieties and probably broke the law. He is hiding it from you, the American people, and you stupid MAGA people who have been talking about the Epstein files for years. You support a guy who literally is in the Epstein files. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Can we invite? I'll invite MAGA callers, conservative Republicans, centrist Republicans. I would encourage you, when we're taking calls, to call in and try and explain to Brian and myself what exactly you're thinking when you say, yes, I still support Trump. Yes, I still support the Republicans that are voting no on the resolution that's making its way through the House right now. How do you justify that? And we will give you a chance to try and make your case. But I'll speak for myself. I can't understand why anyone would back these types of people. They were recruiting from high schools, Brian, 13, 14. The girls testified. They
Yep.
were recruiting from colleges, and
You're
then they were paying $200 a person. If you recruited from a high school, another girl from high school, you got $200 for
Yeah.
recruiting her as well. Who does that? Who backs people like that?
Yeah, I agree with you. So listen, we have a lot of other audio that I want to play for you.
Okay.
But this is obviously the biggest story of the day. This was very emotional, and it was even difficult for me to watch, to listen to these victims
was
speak
hard.
out.
It was hard to
My
watch.
heart goes out to these victims of Jeffrey Epstein. My heart goes out to them. But I'm going to do something that I normally don't do, and I'm going to open up the phone lines a little bit earlier today, and we'll get to the audio a little bit later on.
MAGA calls. I really do.
Well, we'll get to the audio a little bit later on because I have some other stuff to get to. Of course, the battle between Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, and Donald Trump when it comes to deploying the National Guard to Chicago, which appears might actually happen. Jeanine Pirro I think she might have had a little bit too much to drink again yesterday. I have some mesmerizing audio to play for you. Donald Trump on the violence that's taking place in these schools. His excuse is just insane. And Mark Wayne Mullen embarrassing himself on Fox News again. So we are going to play for you all that audio. But I want to open up the phone lines first and just kind of set the scene here. And by the way, the number to call is 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-7283. So what am I talking about today? Well, we started off the show today, myself and Leonard. We had these victims of Jeffrey Epstein that held a press conference in D.C. today with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ro Khanna, and
Massey. We got to give
Thomas
them credit.
Massey. And Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace are on the right side, at least on this issue. And they want the files to be released, and they want the victims to get justice. I applaud that. I think that's the right thing to do. Even though I really might dislike somebody, if I agree with them on something, I'm going to say I agree. So you have these victims that are speaking, and minutes after the victims of Jeffrey Epstein are speaking in D.C., just a few blocks away, Donald Trump is calling it a Democratic hoax. You cannot make this
with
stuff
the president
up.
of Poland sitting right next to him. He's supposed to be having a summit with the president of Poland, and he's in there talking trash about the victims immediately after the press conference. In my TV, it was maybe a minute or two after they finished speaking.
So here's, it was literally a minute or two. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick 90-second break. And when we come back, we are going to be taking phone calls, and I want to know what your thoughts are on the fact that you have victims of Jeffrey Epstein that are speaking in Washington, D.C. today, and then minutes after that press conference, Donald Trump is asked about it, and he calls it a Democratic hoax. Listen, if you're MAGA and you defend Donald Trump for not releasing the Epstein files, I'd like to know why.
Be brave, like the women.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear from you, that's for sure.
I'll be nice.
Yeah,
Brian,
I mean, again, I can't believe it. I believe I'm on the side, certainly, of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace, at least when it comes to this issue. So the number to call is 702-221-7283. And again, the number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-7283. Your call's next. We're going to take a quick 90-second break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is an
right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note for you, Wajahat Ali will be joining us on the program tomorrow. Big fan of his. Get his thoughts on this. If you're just joining us, you had victims of Jeffrey Epstein that were speaking in Washington, D.C. today at a press conference. And even very staunch MAGA supporters like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace are on the side of releasing these files. And moments after this press conference, Donald Trump once again calling this Epstein thing a Democratic hoax. Marjorie Taylor Greene, we're learning, spoke with Donald Trump in the Oval Office today, pleading with him to meet and speak with the Epstein victims. And Donald Trump has not given Marjorie Taylor Greene an answer. Why is that, folks? 702-221-7283, the number to call. We've got Leonard Cardinale, who's co-hosting with me today. I know he's looking forward to taking some of these phone calls.
I'm hoping a MAGA calls in.
Well, you know what? They call in from time to time, but this is a very difficult topic for them to explain. But we will take your calls right now. Let's start off with Brett. Brett, what's going on? Thanks for calling into PTL. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Brian, Leonard? How you guys doing tonight? Hey, you know, I was scrolling through social media and I came across a Fox News post, and the amount of women that were speaking out against these women, that these potential child rape victims, it's astonishing. I can't even describe it. I'm like shaking here. I can't even comprehend the amount of women that are calling these women liars, and that they're taking money. Like they, and if you comment and try to, say, well, who's paying them? What would be the point of them?
Brett, I'm sorry. I want to bring something up real quickly to what you're alluding to. So while these victims were speaking in Washington, D.C., guess which network decided not to cover it?
That's what CNN reported.
And cover some sort of military planes that were flying over the White House. Guess which network decided not to cover it? No, it's not CNN. It's not MSNBC. Fox News decided not to cover these victims speaking out, and instead some military flyover they decided to cover. I find that very convenient, Brett, don't you, Leonard?
They thought it was funny, that military planes were flying over and drowning out the sound, and the women stopped and they were patient and they waited till they flew by. There's no way to prove that it was intentional, but it certainly did. It certainly drowned. Well, he has control of the military. And
right.
They were flying over D.C. During the press conference, but I was really surprised that Fox didn't cover it. That is such a tell.
I'm not. I'm not surprised at all.
It was major news. It was on for like an hour.
Fox News is not a news publication.
That's state media.
They are
state-run
Fox
media.
Noise, and it's why they had to pay out almost $1 billion to Dominion voting machines. They laugh at their listeners. We know through text messages and all the evidence that was provided in that case that people that work at Fox know that so many of the people that watch Fox News, their listenership, are a bunch of dummies. They know that in discovery.
Who else has state-run media?
In court, in discovery, they prove that.
Yeah.
And they're continuing to do that. They didn't want to show the victims of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at this press conference today because they know that this will prove to many of their listeners, maybe Donald Trump might have had
and that's the key,
this.
Brian. They don't want them to know. That's how you keep them in the dark. That's how you keep them low information. But who else has a state-run media program? North Korea, Russia.
Oh, yeah, by the way,
China, all state-run.
I'm so glad you brought that up because President Xi, Kim Jong-un, and Vladimir Putin had a meeting together. Donald Trump goes on social media, by the way. Donald Trump goes on social media.
Kisses their butt.
And says, no, well, he said,
well, he started
thank
out
you so much for having that meeting, conspiring against the United States. Are you going to blame that on Joe Biden, too? Because last I checked under Joe Biden, President Xi, Putin, and Kim Jong-un weren't conspiring against the United States, but they seem to be doing it under your presidency.
Donald Trump said he would have the Russia-Ukraine war settled in less than 24 hours before he was even elected, if you elect me, and even said 100%. There's clips that are back-to-back on social media.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're in trouble. China announced a new laser weapon.
We are.
Underwater drones that can't be detected. And they're able to blind pilots, fighter pilots, with the new laser technology.
You're right.
And he's just sitting there, I guess, eating McDonald's, is what I'm told.
Yeah, that's what I'm told too. So definitely not a salad. 702-221-7283. Let's go to X. X is next up on PTL. Hello, X.
Hello, how are you, Leonard?
Hey there, X.
Good.
What's on your mind?
Before you ask me anything, you can ask me whatever you want, but I just wanted to, ask Leonard something. Hey, I want you and Brian to go together on Piers Morgan show. I want you there too. I think there's.
I don't think I'm popular. I'm not popular.
We'll work on that,
but
Piers Morgan. We'll work on that, but let's try to stay on topic here, X. X. You've made statements on this show where you think Donald Trump is doing okay. So I want to ask you, what do you make of the fact that Epstein's victims, some of the victims were speaking in D.C. today, and then moments after that press conference, the guy who you said is doing okay said that it was a Democratic hoax. Do you think the Epstein files and Epstein, it's all a Democratic hoax? What do you make of Donald Trump saying that?
The truth will come out. That's what I'm saying. The truth will come out.
I don't know about that.
Hold on, X. Why doesn't Donald Trump want the truth to come out?
I'm saying it will come out.
That's not my question.
Say that. That's
X. That's not my question. I need you to focus. Why doesn't Donald Trump want the truth to come out? That's my question to you.
There's multiple reasons. One, one possibility is he could be in there.
Yeah, I think that's a strong possibility. Yeah.
Good job, X. Very good.
What are the other possibilities?
Look, listen, I'm not going to defend, people who are right, wrong. That's what I'm saying. I try to give.
What are the other possibilities?
The other possibilities, there's other victims, in there.
No, that's not. Hold on. With respect, that's not a possibility because he can release the files today. Hold on. Let me explain to you why. He could release the files today, but he can redact the names, which they would do, of every single victim. So you're wrong. That's
and they had 10 victims there today saying we don't care if they know our names.
So just to be clear, X, that is not a possibility. Go ahead. Give me another one.
Okay, another possibility that I believe could be is there could be other powerful people
Well, I think that's certainly plausible and a possibility, but is that an excuse to not release the files?
I feel like it's a mix of two sides. There's something going on. That's what I'm saying. Look, listen, the truth will come out.
So how could you say he's doing an okay job then? I don't understand. How can you say he's okay?
Like I said, I said he's doing an okay job on the border. I didn't say about this.
No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not doing a good job on the border. He's taking away people's rights. He's not giving them due process. He's decided that to send out men in masks who don't identify themselves to throw people in white vans and other vehicles without identifying themselves, without a warrant. And this is in America. This is America. This is not some other country. And you're saying just because it shuts down the border a little bit and has less people and people are getting deported, it's okay to take away their due process rights, their search and seizure rights, their rights as human beings?
Is that saying okay?
That's a good job?
You can litigating, but you can't provide the names. That's what I'm saying. We're going
is it? Listen, yes, actually you can. I've given you names like Garcia and other names of people that are not getting due process. I've given you names and you just don't want to face the reality. So let me ask you some specific questions. Is it okay with you for people to get arrested outside of the courtroom when they're trying to go through the judicial process of trying to become naturalized citizens?
What you told them to do.
X, are you okay with agents outside of courtrooms tackling fathers and mothers to the ground without giving them due process when they're trying to do it the right way? Are you okay with that? Yes or no? Just say yes or no.
Obviously not. But but let me explain.
Okay. Hold on. No. Hold on. You're the one who said that you like what he's doing with immigration. You just admitted that you're not okay with some of his immigration policy. How do you feel about people?
You're not letting me speak. You're only allowing.
Well, you said that he's doing it. You like
you're only trying to talk about one point. That's what I'm saying.
No, there's several points.
No, that's not true. You said you like his immigration policy.
Can I speak? Yes or no? If I can't speak, then
you can speak. You can speak, but you're not. You just said you're not okay with what he's doing.
Let me just explain to you. That's what I'm saying. You're trying to just put yes and no. Again, if you're not legal, what I'm saying is you don't have the same, your rights are more limited.
Not true. Not true. No, this is why I'm going to interrupt you. Cut him down. Yeah, let's check the Constitution. What does it say in the Constitution, X? Does it say any citizen deserves the right to due process? Or does it say any person deserves the right to due
Every-
process.
every
As I
person.
pod you back
You
up,
don't get-
X,
you don't
let's
get a
take
20.
let's take a second grade
Don't-
civics test.
and
Stop
stop
talking. Answer my question. Does it say any citizen deserves the right to due process? Don't say okay. Or does
Check
it
the
say
internet.
any
Check the internet.
person?
Check, fact check, no, check the internet.
Answer the question. Does it say any person or any citizen?
Like I said, again, I've explained to you, if
No,
they're
you're not
legal,
going to explain
like,
to me.
like-
No, you're not going to waste my airtime, and you're not going to explain to me anything. You're going to either answer my question, or you could be a coward, and I'm going to hang up the phone. You just said they don't have the right to due process. You have to go by the Constitution. I just asked you a very simple second grade
Makes no
question,
sense.
which is, and I'm going to repeat it again, and you're going to answer it, or the conversation is over.
Come on.
Does
X.
it say in the Constitution? Will you stop talking? Stop talking and listen and get the MAGA wax out of your ears. Does it
I'm not
say,
defending everything he said.
stop talking?
I'm not MAGA. I'm not MAGA.
Pot him down again. You know what? You might not be MAGA, but you're also not very intelligent. Stop talking and listen.
I'm hoping that he'll answer.
I'm going to ask you one more
Come on,
time.
X.
Does it say in our Constitution any citizen deserves the right to due process, or does it say any person deserves the right to due process? Answer the question.
Explain. But if I answer, you're not going to interrupt me. That's what I'm saying. Period.
If you
that's what
answer,
I'm saying.
answer the question.
Okay. Tell you one thing. If you're a citizen, if you're not a citizen, it's less.
What?
For example, you're
No,
not.
it's
Will
no,
you
it's
pod
not.
this idiot
it's
down
not.
again?
He's trying to say that
Jeez.
there's a difference between someone who's a citizen and someone's a person. If you were on a cruise ship and you came from another country and you walked onto the shores of New York City, let's say, and something happened where you were arrested or there was a question, that same person who's not a citizen now gets due process. You can't just take them and book them without any due process.
Let me explain to X. X, you could keep talking if you want to, but I'm not listening. In our Constitution, it says any person deserves the right to due process. There aren't innuendos in there. Oh, well, if you're undocumented, you don't get this, this, and this. It says any person deserves the right to due process. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have been deported, that have been sent to El Salvador prisons and other prisons around the world that are one of the highest maximum security prisons on the planet. And Maxwell is being treated better than these people, many of whom have never committed a violent crime in their life. Yet you think he's doing a good job on immigration when he's not giving people the right. See, the problem with you is you don't listen. I'm trying to educate you because you sound like a very uneducated man. And I'm trying.
He didn't listen at all.
And I'm trying to be patient with you, but all you do is you keep talking and you don't listen.
He didn't.
Okay.
He didn't
You
listen.
have no idea what it says in the Constitution. You have no idea. Do you realize how uneducated you are on this issue? Do you understand, X? By the way, what's your real name? Why do you call in as X? Because you don't want people all over the country to know how dumb you are? Why don't you tell us your real name? Why is your name X?
That's for me to know.
Oh, that's for you.
He doesn't
to
want to
know.
answer anything.
Yeah. You don't want to answer.
Is he a MAGA? Did you vote for Trump?
Yeah.
He must have voted for
Of
Trump.
course he did. Of
He
course
did.
he
I
did.
could tell.
I don't buy
I
anything.
can tell.
You don't even know what it says
Let
in
me
the
explain to you.
Constitution. No,
He has no argument.
You don't need to explain to me anything. You're a waste of my time.
He's low
X.
information.
You're a waste of my time. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. You're making my producer pod you down, pod you up, pod you down because you won't answer a damn question. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next on PTL. Hello, Herb.
Hey, Brian, I'm not calling to call you a lie or anything like that. You may have just got your facts mixed up. But they may not have shown it live, the press conference with the women on the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
But they did show them. In fact, I've seen about.
They did not cover the entire press conference. I never said they never showed.
Oh no,
them.
no, I didn't say they.
Okay,
no.
Okay,
They
Herb.
didn't cover the entire
Herb.
but they did cover.
Herb.
They did. No. Listen, Brian.
You don't listen
for
to
a
me.
goddamn change.
Okay, first of all, you're not going to swear.
What's the point?
Brian?
They did not. CNN, MSNBC, and every CBS and every national network covered the entire press conference. The only large network. Hold on. The only large network in that category that did not cover the entire press conference. In fact, they covered very little of the press conference and then backed away from it was Fox News.
I'm not arguing that. You might be very right on that. All I'm saying is that they did cover it. They just didn't cover the whole thing. They were covering.
Okay, well, Herb, what's the point? Like, do you agree that the Epstein files should not be released so they can protect the guilty people?
So Herb, here's what I mean by covered. Herb, let me explain. I need you to listen for a moment, okay, Herb? Herb, let me explain. Herb, you got to let me explain. You see, I was a journalist for 10 years. Herb, you have to stop talking, and then I will let you speak. We can't talk both at the same time. Herb, I will let you speak. Give me 30 seconds to make my point. Thank you. So when I say cover something, I was a journalist for 10 years. Here's how you cover something. You cover the entire press conference, okay, which all the other big networks did, and then you have a roundtable discussion on it, and you have journalists that discuss it after the press conference. You actually break it down. That's coverage, okay? That's what you would do in a presidential debate. That's what you do in a large press conference after a school massacre. That's covering an event. You cover the press conference and then you break it down. Fox News not only didn't do that, they didn't cover the entire press conference. They didn't have any analysts talking about it afterwards. Instead, they decided to pan to military planes that were flying over the White House. That's not covering the press conference. What happened, Herb, because I've been in the news business for a long time, is they covered a few minutes of the press conference, and then producers said, let's cut away from this and let's go to something else, because they didn't want to make Donald Trump look bad, and they knew that's what many of their listeners like you did not want to see, because it makes Donald Trump look bad, and it shows that some people have compassion for victims. That's what's covering. You're not covering a press conference when you cover 5% of it and then pan to airplanes. Do you understand that, Herb?
Right, I understand that. They do that all the time. CNN does that all the time.
They didn't do that today.
But why? Why did they not cover it? That's what's important, Herb.
Leonard, shut up and listen.
Don't tell one of my.
Okay.
Don't tell somebody.
Herb, look, I don't mean to make a good point and make you look bad, but at the same time, what is the reason why you even care?
Yeah, then he hangs up the phone. Okay, let me tell you something.
Did he hang up?
This is what MAGA callers do. Let me explain to you what we just witnessed here.
Sorry.
From someone who has a journalism degree, okay, who majored in communications, that's not covering a press conference. He said CNN does it all the time. Explain to me why CNN covered it today and didn't do that. Explain to me why MSNBC didn't do that today. Explain to me why CBS and NBC didn't do that today. Because it was a very important press conference and they actually covered it. But Herb wants to call in and say, you're wrong, Brian. They covered 30 seconds of the press conference, so they covered it. No, Herb, they didn't cover it. No, Herb, CNN and MSNBC, CBS, NBC covered the press conference.
The entire
But your Fox Noise, the same Fox Noise who was sued and had to pay out almost $1 billion to Dominion voting machines, the reason why they're still in business, Fox News, is because of people like you, people that are uneducated, ill-informed, that believe the things that you hear and see on Fox News, because you're a very uneducated man, you're not intelligent, and you make excuses for Donald Trump.
Thanks for calling, Herb.
Yeah, it was fun. Fun, Herb, as always. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's see. Let's go to Wayne. Wayne is next on PTL. What's up, Wayne?
Hey, Wayne. I'm sorry. Hey, how you doing? It's nice talking to you. I watch you all the time. First-time caller. Well, I do want to tell you that you're spot on. And let me tell you that I'm a 30-year military veteran. And to see how even some of my fellow veterans are acting as though this guy is legit. I'm not even going to call his name. He's not legit. And the things he's doing in gaslighting the American people, supported by the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, and being supported by a political party that's encouraging him to do half of the stuff that he's doing. And people are so blinded and do not understand that he's gaslighting them every chance he gets.
Yeah.
He bows down to Putin. I have a feeling that Putin tried to poison them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we might need to look into. He might have poisoned him like he poisoned a bunch of his enemies. So I just wanted to say I enjoy the show, and the morons that calling in here uneducated and don't understand what this man is doing need to just sit and shut the hell up. I'm done.
Thank you, my friend. Good phone call. I absolutely agree with you on this. I want to go to the YouTube super chat real quickly, if I may. Britziker says Trump had a flyover the Epstein victims to intimidate them. I actually agree. Does anybody out there think it's just a coincidence that when the Epstein victims are speaking at a press conference, they happen to have all these military flyovers? Is there anybody that thinks that's a coincidence? D something says, here's a drinking game and I don't even drink. Take a shot every time X says, like, you know, goodbye, liver. He's X because that's all he can remember. You're right about that. Peter Garcia says, HBD to Robbie Roadsteamer. By the way, Robbie Roadsteamer was out there singing to Marjorie.
Is his birthday today?
Yes, it was. It was.
Happy
his birthday.
That
David,
is a funny guy.
David Spiegel on the YouTube super chat says, "I got a front seat today. I could advise Donald how to hop sidewalk curbs in a wheelchair." Very masculine show. Thank you for your donations. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Courtney. Courtney is next up on PTL. Hi, Courtney.
Hey, Brian, it's Courtney from Brooklyn again.
Hey, Courtney.
I just had a couple things to say. I talked to this one MAGA woman, and they're so damn crazy that she claimed that he's not releasing the files because he's undercover and he's trying to convince all the other pedophiles that they're not being investigated while he's investigating them.
Yeah, I'm sure that
That's how crazy these people are.
Yeah.
Was she on heavy drugs?
You know what? There's about as good a chance as that happening as Stormy Daniels holding a press conference today saying Donald Trump is a stud, and he lasted 3 hours with me.
Yeah, but I wanted you to know how crazy these people are. And, you know, I agree with you that we're a country now that's okay with an adjudicated rapist, a felon on 34 counts, and a pedophile in the presidency is a disgusting thing to me.
Well, let me ask you, Courtney, what kind of people support a person like this? What has to be wrong in your mind or twisted in your mind or morality wise in your mind for you to support this kind of a person who calls it a hoax while the women stand on the steps of the Capitol and testify in detail about how they were victimized?
I know it's crazy, but then one of the women said that she voted for Trump and is a Trump supporter.
But
so
that's a good comment.
I was
That's a good
surprised
comment
when the
because it
press commented
shows
to hear that.
it's not just Trump bashing. It's his own people. Massey is a Republican. That's his own people. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bobart, they're all supporting this resolution. And they only need 2 more, by the way, Brian. I don't know if the latest news was they only need 2 more Republicans to pass it.
Yeah.
No, but one of the actual survivors said that she voted for Trump and supports him still. So during the press conference, so I was shocked about that.
Well, thank
but
you.
Also, I don't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think that she's a plant.
I don't trust her
I think
either.
she's in there to.
I don't trust her either. I understand why you would say that, but certainly it doesn't make Donald Trump look good when she says she spoke with Trump in the Oval Office today and asked Trump if he would meet with the victims, and he didn't give a response. Let's go to, thank you for the call, my dear. Let's go to Shelley. Shelley's next on PTL. Hello, Shelley.
Hey, Brian. Bear with me here for 1 second. I will connect it, okay? Sorry. Excuse me. If our tax dollars can go to Ashley Babbitt's family for an insurrection, every victim should get $5 million as well. Because why would Trump hide those files if he was not in them?
Yeah.
And I know it would be very difficult for the victims. I know it would.
Yeah.
But there has to be some kind of remedy for this, because there's also a young man. I don't know if there was more, but I did see one. I don't know if you saw it today because I didn't get to see it. I'll have to go back and watch it, but I did see yesterday that there was a young man. And Trump has the power.
Well, that's the thing. Trump has the power
to release these, but he won't because he's in there.
Well, Donald Trump, listen, the bottom line here is that Donald Trump has the power to do a lot of things, okay? He's got immunity. He's got the power to release the Epstein files, and you could redact the names of the victims. He has that power. He could do it right now if he wanted to. There's only one main reason why he's not releasing them, and I think we both know the answer to that, Shelley, and I appreciate your call. 702-221-7283. Frank is next. Hello, Frank. Hi, Frank.
Hello, Brian. How are you doing today?
Good.
You know what? When you start beating a horse too much, people are accept the truth and not the lies, because it's going to be beat, this, that, and the other. You're, committing lies, fabrication, whatever, you know. So people are going to believe it more as it goes on. And I have another question. For you. Do you think our debt ceiling limit is up at the end of the month? Do you think the Democrats will go in with the Republicans to pass?
Is he talking about
the debt,
paying the national debt at the end of the month?
Debt. Probably not. Remember that Republicans run the House and the Senate right now. Remember, Donald Trump got us $8.2 trillion in debt in his first 4 years around. I think it could actually be worse this go around. They were bragging about Doge, which was irrelevant, did absolutely nothing. So, no, I think the ceiling is going to continue to raise and go higher, just like Donald Trump's weight.
Well, and the Democrats are in a tough spot.
Yeah, no question.
Because if they fight it and we have to shut down the government, then they're going to blame the Dems, even though they don't want to make it easy for Trump.
So for any of you that are watching on social media right now, if you're a Trump supporter, now's your chance to defend him. Why is it that he refuses, apparently, to meet with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein? Why is it that he refuses to release the files? Do you think it's just a coincidence? Why is it that he doesn't want you talking about it? In fact, he attacked his own MAGA base. And today, minutes after the victim spoke in D.C., he called it a Democrat hoax. Why is that, MAGA supporters?
That's a good question.
Now's your chance to call into the show.
Explain why it's a hoax.
Explain to me why you might agree with Donald Trump that you think this is a hoax.
Good question.
The number to call in is 702-221-SAVE. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. And while these victims were speaking in D.C. today, the White House puts up on their Twitter account, the official White House puts up on their Twitter account the sound of freedom overhead as planes were flying overhead. That is what we call, ladies and gentlemen, distraction. Okay, why don't we go to Kevin? Kevin is next up on PTL. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Brian, good to talk to you again. And, my biggest question for MAGA and the supporters and the pedophile in chief himself, he does executive orders for everything. What do you do? Executive orders that things that didn't matter for rainbow sidewalks and all sorts of stuff. Why can't he do an executive order to release the Epstein files? All of them, all the files. Whereas JFK, he's done executive orders. What else? Right? I mean, since he's got on the gate, he's done more executive orders than any modern day president.
You know what that's like saying? That's like asking Scott Peterson, what did you do with the weapon that you used to end your wife's life? I mean, it's listen, I'm using that analogy because it's true. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. The reason why he doesn't want the files to be released because it's damning to him and many people in his orbit. There's no question about that. That's why. That's the reason.
Can I ask him a quick question?
Yeah.
So, Kevin, let me ask you this. How come the news has reported that in late March of this year, that 1,000 FBI agents were pulled from their duties, even in the field, to work 24-hour shifts to go through 100,000 pages of Epstein files and expunge Trump's name from any file? That's what the news is reporting. Why would they use those kind of resources to expunge a name from documents?
That's called conservative transparency, my friend. It's basically, I just can't believe what has happened to our country. I mean, he is absolutely making a mockery out of our judicial system. We already knew our Supreme Court was crooked, but the thing is, though, is that we have nobody to stop him because he does have the Supreme Court as his trump card, no pun intended, his ace in the deck. I mean, but you talk to these MAGAs, all sorts of stuff. They don't care. They don't care. As long as they keep getting the white Christian nationalist utopia they've always wanted, they don't care. But they were supposed to be the big. We love children. You love the fetus. You just, once you're born, you're on your own.
Well, it's more like a dystopia than a utopia.
It's a bunch of hypocrites out there. They claim they care about kids and they care about the poor, yet they want 15 million people to lose their medical coverage and food stamps. They claim they care about child safety. They talk about drag queens 24/7, but after a school massacre, all they have to say is, let's pray. Thoughts and prayers. They don't care about the American people. They only care about themselves. They certainly don't care about these victims of Epstein, Clearly, Donald Trump doesn't. Clearly, those in his administration don't either. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Will. Will is next up on PTL. Hey, Will, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard. How you doing?
How you doing, Will?
I try to get this out. It's been, for me anyway, emotional day in terms of after seeing these poor women, brave women that came out and spoke. And I kind of want to just take it from a perspective. I've been an investigator for over 30 years, and Leonard being a cop, just take it from a common sense point of view. I mean, when you look at the grand picture since this whole thing started, actions speak louder than words. Basically, any MAGA supporter, any Trump supporter at this point, why isn't he releasing it? Oh, you released 3% of information that wasn't out there. The rest has already been out there. If, let's say, give every MAGA's dream that Trump is not in there, why hasn't he released it? What does that tell you? He's either protecting someone or he's protecting himself. Either way, he's guilty as hell.
I think it's both. I really do.
I think so too. I think so too. But either way, it's irrefutable. You're talking about victims. You're talking about children. I don't care who you are. You support that man at this point in time, you are just as bad as he is, if not worse.
What does that say about them, Will, that they're still voting for him, still supporting him, still making excuses
for him? It's horrible. I can't even, like I said, my emotions are very high, and I apologize, guys. I want to get my point across, but I just seeing those women and just
it was hard.
Reading people for 30 years.
Listen,
you
I
can
know
tell that they're telling the truth. And it infuriates me that people in this country still support this scumbag.
Let me tell you something. I'm sure we probably all know, sadly, at least one person who has been the victim of an assault.
I know. I do. I grew up with someone.
And it affects them. It affects them for their entire life, even with therapy.
And they never forget it.
And they never
That's
forget
what they
it.
all said.
And I can tell you that it affects them in relationships. I can tell you that it
in every
aspect
trust,
of their life.
Issues.
And all they're asking for, these women that I have tremendous, like you and Leonard, a tremendous amount of empathy for, all they're asking for is the truth to be out there. They have to relive this all over again. And they're very brave to be out there in front of a camera. Very brave of them to do so.
I give them all the credit in the world.
All they're asking for is the truth. All they want is justice. And Donald Trump will not give them that. And there's a clear reason why. We all know the answer to that why. And anybody out there who still supports this guy, this is what you support. And you better own it. You better own it.
Yeah, I just want to make one real quick point and leave you guys. Listen, there's people that are waking up. There was 3 special elections, 2 in Florida, 1 in Iowa. They won that were all red.
That's true.
They swung 15 points to the left and nominated a Democrat. People are waking up.
I hope so.
And and I really hope and I pray for this great country of ours, that the good people in this country, because there's a lot of good people in this country, more than bad.
Amen,
they realize and they swing and they right the wrongs that have long been hidden by these idiot, ignorant, freaking MAGA supporters that are a bunch of garbage.
I don't disagree.
Every single one.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. Very well said. Thank you for the call, my friend. This is an emotional topic. Let's go to Tina. Tina is next up on PTL. Hey, Tina, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. Hi, Leonard.
Hi, Tina.
I watched that press conference this morning, and I have heard these victims being interviewed previously, but today, when it was done in real time, it affected me, and I've been really sad since then. Even though I commend them for their bravery and their courage, they are living a nightmare that never ends.
It was hard to watch.
You're right.
It was hard to watch, but to listen to them say that, they're still being threatened, they're still being stalked, they're still being followed, that is never ending. And that is unbelievable to me.
Can you imagine the disruption in your life, Tina? Can you imagine how it would disrupt your life? people following you in cars, some of them contacting you, some of them not contacting you, no trust, afraid all the time. But you know what? They came down to those steps and they testified anyway, and they told the truth
I know,
anyway.
and that's why I commend them. God bless those women, I'll tell you. And Donald Trump will never face them because he is a frickin' coward.
Draft
And he's
dodging
a coward of his own memory.
He's a draft dodging coward, and we also know he's very fearful of powerful women, particularly women of color. Donald Trump is a coward. There's no question about that, my dear, and I appreciate your call. MAGA people, if you want to defend Donald Trump today, I'd love to hear from you. Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL. What's up, David?
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, David.
Thank you. In regard to the Epstein files, what is your opinion? I'd like Leonard's opinion, too, as to why when Biden was in office, for 4 years, they didn't release them then, or at least tried to.
Sure. So it's very simple for me. And by the way, I've answered that question on this show, and I'm very consistent. I've been wanting the files to be released for many, many years. I believe there are prominent people on the left and there are prominent people on the right. Now, there's no evidence to show that Joe Biden was in the Epstein files, but there's certainly plenty of evidence showing that Trump is in there. But what I try to focus on now, because Joe Biden is not the president, Barack Obama is not the president. There's a guy by the name of Donald Trump who's the president of the United States, who right now could release the files. MAGA people all over this country have been saying for years, release the files, release the files. Well, their own guy who they voted for, I would assume that you are one of them, is making every excuse in the book, not only not to release the files, but he doesn't want people like you talking about it. So how do you feel about that? That should be the question. I've answered that question time and time again. I think Biden should have released the files. I think anybody.
Why? But I know that you think you should have.
I've answered that. I've answered that. I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
Okay. Well,
but it was, if I may say, David, it was being investigated. Sure. Remember, they started the trial for Ghislaine Maxwell in 2018, and she went to prison in about 2021, 2022. Okay, so that was the major part of the investigation. And also they arrested Epstein, and in 2019 he was it suicide or I don't know what it was.
Well, here's what I'll add.
You have to remember they were progressing on the investigation.
But here's what I'll add to David, to what he's asking me here. I'll tell you one thing Joe Biden didn't do. He didn't call any of his supporters. Hold on.
Yeah.
Please, this is important. First of all, he didn't have one of his personal attorneys interview Maxwell. And then after Maxwell said some nice things about Donald Trump, or, sending her to a Club Med facility, he didn't put her on work release. One thing Joe Biden didn't do is he didn't attack all of his supporters and call them stupid. Maybe even people like
he also didn't release the files.
Okay, but I'm trying again. Why can't you just admit that Donald Trump is dodging this? Because he's most likely in the files.
I
but
do admit
instead you want to call up and you want to talk about Joe Biden. You supported Donald Trump.
Every time they're in a corner, it's Joe Biden, it's Hunter
Biden. No. I'll explain.
It's Hillary Clinton.
It's not.
Go ahead,
Dave.
It's not
so much. It's not. Okay, thank you. It's not so much Biden, because you're right. I don't want to just make it about him because he's not in office. My real point with this question was the Democrats now who are saying they want to release it. I don't buy it for a second, because they could have done that when Biden was in office, and they wouldn't have had anyone blocking them.
They voted for it.
A ton of people on both.
Every single Democrat voted to release the files. The only people that don't want the files to be released right now are Republicans.
You can't say I don't think they wanted them released when they're voting to release them.
They want them to be released now.
But they never released them during.
But they're voting for it now, Dave. They're voting for it now.
And the resolution is for everything to be released.
They had every opportunity then to do it, and they had the White House backing them, but they didn't do it. They only waited until they didn't have the power.
Dave, they're doing it now. Why are Republicans?
When they know they don't have the power, they did.
Did the Democrats vote against it when Biden was president? Did they vote against it? Was there a vote in the House floor?
No, they voted for it, but it didn't go anywhere because they know that it's...
Democrats voted for it. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question now. Why is it that, and we're talking now in 2025, why is it that, Dave, wait for the question.
Sure.
Why is it that every single Democrat wants the files to be released, no matter who's in the files? They want the files to be released. Why is it that every single Republican on this committee voted against releasing the files? Can you give me one valid explanation?
Sure, because it's either, people who, like, it's either them or some of their friends, all their political friends are in it. There's a ton of people that are in
Do you
this,
think
and
Donald Trump
here's
is in
my
it?
point.
Donald Trump in it?
He's probably in it. I don't know to what
How do you
extent he's in
feel?
it. We
How do you
can
feel about
speculate.
do you still support Donald Trump?
I support some of the policies, sure.
Okay, but you voted for him. Do you think you made a good vote?
Correct. I do, yes.
You do. So
because he's already done things that I like doing, and I haven't.
Because he's done a few
Excuse me?
things that you might like, you have no problem supporting a possible pedophile. Is that what you're saying?
Well, unless I can see actual hardcore significant evidence.
Okay,
I'm
let me
not
ask you a
gonna
question.
call him a
Let me ask.
pedophile.
Okay, let's go. But David, let's talk about this. Hardcore evidence. First of all,
Right.
here's what we know for sure. Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 10 years. We also know he was on the Maxwell flight log at least 7 times. We also know that he wants everybody to stop talking about this. He's even called his supporters stupid. We also know that he sent his personal attorney to have a meeting with Maxwell, not because they wanted the truth, so that Maxwell could say some nice things about Donald Trump, because we know days after she was sent to a Club Med facility and she's on work release. We also know Donald Trump self-admitted himself that there was a young girl that was working at Mar-a-Lago. Epstein took that young girl from him, and that's why they stopped talking. Donald Trump also admitted on audio that Epstein liked some really young girls. He's also seen on video bragging and joking to Epstein, looking at women. We also know that Donald Trump is the guy who bragged sexually.
Well, what is that? What does
we
that
also
even
know
prove?
that
Brag-
Donald. We also know that Donald
That doesn't
Trump.
prove
We
anything.
also know that doesn't prove anything. So
Bragging.
They
he's
scrubbed the
looking at
files.
Women and joking, and that's your evidence that he's a pedophile.
a best friend. Hold on a second. Did you not listen to
Sure.
the other things that I mentioned? By the way, Donald Trump is the guy that bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms, looking at them half naked sexually without permission. Donald Trump's
on
sexual.
the Howard
Hold on a
Stern
second.
show.
I don't care what show it was on. Doesn't matter what
Well,
show
it
it was
does
on.
matter. It
It does matter. So somebody could brag about looking at teenage girls naked, but if it's on a show where they joke around, that makes it okay.
Where
Did
they
you-
joke around, yes. Where they joke
I
around.
see.
yes.
He wasn't
So if you're on
joking.
so if you're joking around on a show, you can joke around about being a pedophile, and you think that's okay, David? Because see, that's what that is.
That was
when
no
you
joke.
want to go into a locker room where young teenage girls as young as
Well,
15 and
here's the
14.
thing. If
No,
that-
here's the thing. Here's the
Sure,
thing.
Sure.
If you're going to go on a show and brag about looking at a bunch of 15 and 16-year-old girls naked, and you're defending that because it was the Howard Stern show, that is
Well, no, I'm not
absurd, David.
defending
And
it. I
David
can
supports
explain.
that guy. You're saying you
Let-
support
let
him.
me- let me explain. If these things actually did happen, presumably he would have been charged. And if he had already admitted that he did it
No.
on a TV show,
Not
he
true.
would have been charged.
No one knew
He would have
about it.
been
It
Nobody
was-
knew about it.
very
Not
He
true.
admitted it
charged.
years later, but
Nobody knew
no
about
one
it.
knew. He
Yeah.
went in a private
Yeah,
dressing room.
and if any of the girls that saw him do
Yeah,
that,
they
get
did.
press
They've done
charges.
interviews. Yes, they have. They've spoken out
And
about it.
how-
And they were
and
afraid.
how come
And they were
charges?
Because he
threatened.
was
They were
the,
threatened.
because he owned the pageant, and they were afraid to do so. Just like many women that were abused by Bill Cosby didn't come forward. If you ask that about this, ask it about every other assault. There are many reasons why women, and especially in this case, young girls, don't come forward immediately. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, David.
I didn't say that. No,
Then
I'm
stop
that
saying, why
it-
didn't they come
can I-
forward? Why
can
didn't
I
they come
explain
Was he
forward?
defending Trump and the
Can
other?
I actually explain, or are you
David-
going to keep having? Are you going to keep freaking out?
You sound. By the way, I'm not freaking out. I'm just telling it like it is, David. You're
look,
making
I'm
excuses for.
I'm trying to have a conversation. No, I'm not making excuses. Here's my point. My point was, I think it's performative when the Democrats say they want to release it because they.
It's
know
not
that's
performative.
going
They
to be-
voted.
A
Let me
vote
just
is not
explain. It's-
performative.
That's not
They
performative.
voted
They know-
for it.
Here's why. Because it didn't go anywhere, and they knew it wouldn't go
Because
anywhere.
of the
They weren't
Republicans.
dumb when they
Because the
voted.
Republicans won't vote for it.
But-
Why do you keep making excuses for people like you who voted for Donald Trump? The Republicans won't vote for it
Let me-
because they're afraid of Donald Trump, just like you are, to call him what he is.
He's afraid to
Let
call him
me
what he
explain.
is.
Yeah, let me explain. You keep saying that.
Again, because under Biden and Harris's term, they were not coming out saying we need to release these files because if they knew that if the files were released, let's say, and Trump's name was in them during the election season, Trump would have been slaughtered. He would have lost the election. Of course,
Not
the
true.
Democrats
Not
knew
true.
that.
Not
Yes,
true.
it is.
Not
Yes,
true.
it is.
Okay, David, you
Yeah,
would
that's
have to,
absolutely
in order
not
for
true.
you to be correct in your assumption, you would have to know that Joe Biden read the files, that Obama read the files, that the DOJ gave him the files, and they refused to do anything. So you're making an assumption that they had all the detailed information at the time. And remember, there's hundreds of thousands of pages.
By the
so
way,
you're
David,
making an assumption
But
that's not
my
accurate.
point is
By the
they
way,
never
David,
really
no.
hardcore pushed
It's
for it.
not. Two wrongs don't make a right. So I'm going to prove that right now. Let's just say, for argument's sake, and I'm not saying this is
Right.
true, but let's just say, argument's sake, Joe Biden knew that there were prominent left-leaning Democrats that he was defending, and that's why he didn't want to release the files. I'm not saying that's true. For argument's sake, that still doesn't make what Donald Trump is doing right. So your argument still doesn't make any sense. Two wrongs wouldn't make a right.
He's doing the same
you're
thing.
the guy who voted for Donald Trump, and you're the guy who continues to make excuses for him. So why don't you stop talking about the past, and why don't you start talking about the present? You guys, no.
Matters.
Let me explain, as you would say. Let me explain.
It does matter.
Let
You
me
can't just write
explain.
off the past.
Let me explain, as you say.
Okay.
For years,
All right.
people like you said, release the files, release the files, release the files. All these people in Hollywood are in the files. But now all of a sudden, the guy who you support, well, where's the proof? Show me the evidence. It's pathetic, David. It's pathetic.
How's it pathetic? I want the files released, but I know damn well that they're never going to be released. It doesn't matter who's in office.
You don't know that damn well. You don't know that.
Yes, I do. Yes,
the
you know
victims
how I
are
know?
making a
Because if
list
you and I
as
talk-
we speak. As we speak, they're making a list of the actual
Let me ask David
people
a
who
question.
abuse them.
It's
Let me
ask
David a question.
because
If the
they would be
victims-
bringing themselves
If
down.
the victims write down a list, and one of those people on the list is Donald Trump, will you regret your
Right.
vote? Yes or no?
No, because I haven't seen
okay.
it, because that's not evidence. That's just
because you
somebody
like a few of
writing
his
it
policies.
down.
Right. The victims are lying.
That's somebody
the Wall
writing
Street.
it down.
Right.
That doesn't prove anything.
David, you're right. The victims are lying.
It
The Wall
doesn't
Street
prove
Journal is
anything.
lying. He was just
I didn't-
joking on
no,
the
look.
Howard Stern show.
Can I ask him a question?
David, what's wrong with you? Because I don't think you're a stupid guy.
David-
What the hell is wrong with you? Why can't you just admit it?
Let me ask
Admit
you a
what?
question, David.
Admit
Why
what?
is the House
What are you asking
Oversight
me to
Committee,
admit?
who's run by Republicans, refusing to subpoena Alexander Acosta, who was a U.S. attorney who made the deal with Epstein? He would know best on what evidence there is. He made a deal in 2007 to allow him to go to the state prison on a really small charge and didn't even charge him federally for trafficking young women. Why are they not bringing him in?
Well,
Why?
I think it's obvious, but I
mean,
think it's-
is it obvious to him?
Well, David, Leonard's right.
Yeah.
David, why do you think Donald Trump's personal attorney met with Maxwell and then a few days
That's a
later
better question.
she was sent to Club Med? David, I'm just asking you a question. What's your opinion on that? I'd like to know your opinion. Why do you think they did that, David?
You're asking what? Why they repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Why do you think
You
Donald
said-
Trump's personal attorney met with Maxwell? Maxwell said she never saw Donald Trump do anything, improprieties. And then days later, they put her into basically a Club
With
Med
no law
facility
enforcement.
where she can play tennis and be outside 24 hours a day. Why do you think they did that, David? You seem like a smart
Well,
guy.
probably
Why do you
because-
think they did that?
I'm assuming, if based on what you're telling me, they probably wanted to give her a sweetheart deal so she wouldn't say
Yes.
anything. because she's
Okay.
probably got a
There
million
you
names
go,
on it.
David. Okay, we're starting
he
in the
admitted
hold on. We're starting in the right place, David. We're moving in the right direction. David, why do you think Donald Trump today, minutes after the victim spoke in D.C., again called it a Democratic hoax? Why do you think he does that, David?
Well, he calls everything a Democratic hook. So that's,
he
I mean, he's called
No, he doesn't.
a
He
Democrat
doesn't
hook.
call
Yes, he
everything a
does.
Dem-
He's-
no, he
No, when
doesn't
something
call
goes wrong, it's a
He's
hoax.
called the
And
Russian
when something
thing a
goes
Democrat
right, he
hoax.
takes
called
credit for
Ukraine
it.
a Democrat
Okay,
hoax.
so
He calls
David,
things a
let's
Democrat hoax
focus
all the
on this
time.
for a moment. Why
Well,
do you
asked why he
think?
called it a Democrat hoax.
Why do you think he's calling the Epstein files minutes after victims were speaking out in an emotional press conference? Why did he call it a hoax? And why did he say they should stop talking about it? Why do you think he does that, David?
Probably because, as I said, his name is likely in the
Probably.
files.
Okay, so let's rewind for a
trying to-
moment. David, okay, hold on.
Sure.
Let's rewind for a minute. You self-admitted that most likely the reason why, and by the way, it's not most likely, it's 100%. The reason why they spoke with Maxwell.
In your
is
opinion.
okay, well, if anybody can give me anything other than the contrary, any logical reason,
Well,
I'm
that's-
open ears.
that's
okay.
Ockman's-
You
that's common sense.
self-admit that they did this for a sweetheart deal to help exonerate Trump, according to Maxwell. You admit that. You also self-admit that most likely the reason why Donald Trump
Yeah,
was
but
talking.
here's the
Okay,
thing.
hold on.
Here's the
Wait
thing.
for my question.
Okay,
You
sure,
self-admit
sure.
this stuff, yet you claim you still support Donald Trump, even though he's most likely a pedo, most likely in the files, because you like a couple of his policies. David, how can I respect
I
that
don't
opinion?
think he's most likely a pedo. I don't think that. I think a lot of people look. From
girls
what
were
I've
14
seen with the
years
files,
old by
I
their
don't
own
think
admission.
A ton of, yeah, but I don't think that they were all. My opinion of it is, I don't think all these people were doing exactly what Epstein himself was doing.
So let's put a
He was
little
having a
context.
victim blaming, or
Let's put a little, David, let's put a little context into this, okay? Have you ever heard of a man that said the one thing he has in common with his daughter is sex, and sexualized her and talked about her body in public? Do you know anybody
Right.
that does that?
Yeah, it was Trump. You're talking about.
Okay. Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody?
Is.
Do any of your friends do that? Would you hang out with somebody like that?
What, that makes a joke? Is that really
No,
your
no,
argument?
no. It's not about making a joke when you talk about your daughter's body and how voluptuous she is. And I would probably date her if she wasn't my daughter. It's not a joke when you say the one thing me and my daughter have in common when she's in her early 20s, sitting right next to her. What it proves is it proves that he's a creep and he is disgusting. And he talks about grabbing women by the genitals. He goes into teenage girls' locker rooms and brags about it. And your defense is, well, it was the Howard Stern show, so that's okay. He brags about sexualizing his own daughter. And it just so happens, wait a second, it just so happens that he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It just so happens that for 10 years, Jeffrey Epstein's gloated about how he was best friends with Donald Trump. It just so happens that he was on the flight log 7 times. It just so happens that they gave Maxwell a sweetheart deal. You add layer to layer to layer to layer, and you can't just say, yeah, he's in the files. Even though I like a few of his policies, I probably shouldn't have voted for him. The fact that you can't say that, David, is cowardly, quite frankly.
That's not. No, it's not true at all. Can I elaborate?
Go ahead. It is, though.
Well, because again, I think that a ton of these people are in the files, and the Democrats, again, it's all performative. They want to pretend.
It's not, David. The proof is in the. No, because what you're saying is not true.
Performative when Trump said he was going to do something about it. That's performative.
Here's what's performative. When you had a bunch of right-wing clowns with binders in their hands, phase 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. It's not performative when every single Democrat, whether it happened today or yesterday or a year ago, it happened this year. Every single Democrat voted to release the Epstein files. And Republicans are the ones that are blocking it right now. That is not performative, Dave. That's not performative.
When Pam Bondi said the list is on my desk, I'm getting ready to read it and then release it.
Yeah.
When the attorney general says, I have the report, I have the list. And then the next day he's talking about, there's actually not a list. That's performative.
Dave, so you don't like performative stuff, right? You don't like performative stuff?
Correct, of course.
Okay.
They couldn't have released it because a ton of their names would have been in it. That's why
David doesn't like
nobody.
David doesn't like performative stuff. David, what do you think about a guy who wakes up and puts on 8 layers of orange makeup every day? What do you think about a guy during the Republican National Convention having Hulk Hogan speak, a known racist, or Dana White, who runs the UFC, who is a wife beater, speak at the convention, or Kid Rock, who is also a homophobe? Would you call that? You seem to not like performative stuff because you just said you have a problem with performative, and yet you vote for Donald Trump, the guy who looks like a clown every day, who puts on makeup. Don't tell me you don't like performative.
Talked about water pressure and sharks and getting electrocuted. That was all performative.
Because I don't like performative things that happen, I'm now going to not like Trump because he's orange.
The vote is factual. Not to interrupt you, but the vote is factual. They have a resolution in front of the House right now that every Democrat has voted for. That's not performative. That's a fact.
Yeah, but no,
that's
Leonard,
an actual fact that you can look at.
Because
Republicans are not voting for the resolution.
They know it won't pass.
Because they
First of all, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Massey, and some Republicans that they have tried to convince, and some of them it has worked. They didn't know that it wouldn't pass because there are always Republicans out there that can change their mind, and there are some Republicans that have. So your premise that you knew for a fact that it wasn't going to pass is not true. They have been pleading with.
No, that's not true.
Okay, well, you could listen. If you think you want to go into every single mind of every single Democrat why they voted to release the Epstein files and make an excuse.
Use basic logic to understand. I mean, look, again, I'm not trying to just make it about Biden and Kamala, but when Kamala was running, obviously she's not in the files, right? But why didn't she consistently push and say we need to release?
Because she was the vice president. She was the vice president. Because she's the vice president.
She did better than that.
Because
she told us that he was going
to
ruin the country.
I'm going to give you a little history lesson here, Dave. Okay, because she's the vice president and she doesn't have the authority to do so. She's not a policymaker. You don't know what you're talking about.
But when she was running for office, she could have said, "I want these files released. We need to press for them."
So you're angry at Kamala Harris because when she was running for office, she didn't bring up the Epstein files, but yet the man who you voted for, who's the president of the United States now, and the leader. No, you're missing the point. The leader of the free world. You want to talk about Kamala Harris, who at one time was the vice president, but yet you don't want to talk about Donald Trump, the guy who you voted for, and you don't want to admit the fact that you voted for a pedo, and you voted for a guy who's an adjudicated abuser. You voted for him knowing all those things. You knew that he was an adjudicated abuser.
The evidence for those, I mean, I see you.
You don't have all the evidence because you weren't a juror. You were not a juror.
Yeah,
you didn't see all the evidence.
You know, I notice how you never want to say that was in a criminal court because it didn't happen in a criminal court. So
first of all,
right out of a criminal court.
So first of all, just because somebody is adjudicated and found liable doesn't mean they didn't do it and didn't commit a crime. That's number one. Number two,
there's no significant evidence he raped that woman.
So first of all, you don't know what all the evidence is because you weren't on the jury. You don't know. We don't have all the evidence. The jury did, and they found him liable for abuse.
For $86
I would
million.
also say that you're also assuming that the 30+ women that have come forward that have accused him of abuse are lying. They're not telling the truth, including his ex-wife, in court documents who testified under oath that her husband abused her. So you think his ex-wife, hold on. According to David, because David is a very logical guy, E. Jean Carroll's lying. Donald Trump's ex-wife is lying. The 25 other women that have accused him of it are all lying.
I'm not saying
that's what you're saying. Make no mistake about it. That's what you're saying. I'm showing you the evidence. Okay. No, I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm putting words in your mouth, and perhaps you should take a body part of Donald Trump.
He lost the lawsuit.
Perhaps you should put a body part of Donald Trump out of your mouth, David. What do you think about that? Because that's what you do. Every single time you call into the show, get the hell out of here. You wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. You make excuses for Donald Trump 24/7. You don't believe any of the victims. You play stupid. Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh, Donald Trump admitted to that. Donald Trump could admit to the worst crimes in the world, and your defense would be, well, it's the Howard Stern show, so who cares? Your excuses are pathetic, quite frankly, David, and you are pathetic. You call into this show and you make excuses. You want to talk about Kamala Harris because she didn't talk about the Epstein files on the campaign trail, but you don't want to talk about all the evidence that shows that Donald Trump is in there and he does not want people like you to see the truth. And you're the type of person where even if he was in there and the truth was all exposed, you would still support him because you like his immigration policy. Have a nice day, David. 702-221-7283 is the number to call.
He wasn't making any sense.
Who are we going to next? David took it all out of me, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how much energy I have left here. All right, let's go to Ken. Ken is next up. Leonard, you might have to talk the rest of the show. Ken, what's going on?
Gentlemen.
Go ahead, Ken.
Well, two things. One, at this point, MAGA will hold down a 14-year-old on Fifth Avenue so that he can essay her and claim it never happened. Okay, that's just the point we're at. There is no bottom for them. And then the other thing, on this Ashley Babbitt deal, turns out what they're not talking about. Her great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather is now being expunged and getting the full thing, same as her. And he's going to be the first 6-star general, Benedict Arnold.
Who is he talking about?
Who are you talking about, sir?
Ashley Babbitt.
Oh, Ashley Babbitt. Okay. Yeah.
Benedict Arnold is going to become the first 6-star general and expunged by Trump. You got me now?
Well, that could happen. I don't know. I mean, that's
well, the caller that called before was talking about compensation, and they were asking why Ashley Babbitt her family's been compensated, and what about the victims of all this abuse and this sexual abuse and trafficking? When will they get compensated? And quite possibly we'd have to go down the criminal road first and then eventually get to the point where they could ask to be compensated for a lifetime of misery, decades of misery. And these people still say, well, Donald Trump said himself, it's a hoax. He doesn't believe it. So is that kind of like victim blaming in a way?
I think to an extent, yes, it certainly is. I cannot believe. I can't believe that there. I'm still mesmerized by that Dave phone call. Okay.
Well, he was talking because about performative.
I can't believe that there are people out there that still make excuses, even though he knows that Trump is in the Epstein files. let me be very clear.
He was making no sense.
Let me be very clear to everybody that's watching the show right now, listening anywhere, in your car, on YouTube. Donald Trump is an adjudicated rapist. Donald Trump is most likely a pedophile. I guarantee you. Donald Trump has been on Epstein Island. I guarantee you. Some of these victims are eventually going to come forward with a list, and Donald Trump is going to be one of those people on the list. I guarantee you all that stuff is factually accurate and true. And I will say one more thing. If at this time you still support Donald Trump, you might as well support Bill Cosby or any other serial rapist or pedophile in this country, because that is who Donald Trump is. There are no excuses. I don't want to hear about some of the policies you like, because quite frankly, I would never support anybody who is a pedophile or a rapist if I supported 99.9% of their policies. I'd rather support somebody like Liz Cheney, where I disagree with 99% of her policy, but I know she's not a rapist or a pedophile. You people are disgusting. You are despicable. And I've had it. I've had it with all of you that continue to make excuses. And I've said this before, Leonard, and I will say it one more time. Donald Trump could be seen sodomizing a child on video. And some of you would still support him and say it's AI. Just like Donald Trump said it was AI, where they had some mechanic or some, I don't know, it's not mechanic, but some engineer in the White House that was throwing stuff out a window. And Donald Trump said that was AI. You guys are pitiful. You're pathetic. You have no moral compass and no decency. And I've had it with you. And I don't want any of you in my life in any way, shape, or form.
Brian?
You can call into the show and embarrass yourself. You're welcome to do that. But I will not be talking to you outside of this radio show because you all are repugnant. You're disgusting to me.
Why did they stick with him, Brian? And when he was talking about performative, it occurred to me that what if Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of knows that the vote isn't going to pass, and she's trying to stick with the victims, knowing that it's not going to pass, so she gets credit for staying with the victims. You think she's that smart? Is she that savvy?
I don't think she's very savvy at all. I don't think she's very intelligent at all. But I will say this, and you might disagree with me on this. I do give Marjorie Taylor Greene a little bit of credit.
She went out there in front of the cameras.
Along with Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace, even though I think they're all horrible people. But on this issue, they are correct. And it does not make, the reason why I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene is BSing us on this issue, because it makes Donald Trump look really bad, that Marjorie Taylor Greene admitted to Manu Raju today that she spoke to Donald Trump today and pleaded with him to speak with the victims, and Trump didn't give her an answer. That does not make Donald Trump look good. She would have not disclosed that information, I believe, if she was lying. So yes, I do give them some credit where credit is due, but I would say, if you don't want the Epstein files to be released right now, you have no moral compass.
Donald Trump's premise is that at least 10 women and their attorneys stood on the stairs in front of the Capitol building today and gave an account of which kind of, they were going back to how they were 14 and they were told, hey, just go give this guy a massage. And so they went over there, and that's when the sexual abuse started to occur. And then they were paid to recruit other girls. How could somebody say it's a hoax? They said it on camera with attorneys. Their attorneys backed them up. To say that's a hoax is just re-victimizing the victims, in my opinion.
It really is. I agree with you. We'll do a few more of the YouTube Super Chat in a little bit here, but I do want to get back to the phone calls at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the show, MAGA supporter or not, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Connie. Connie is next up on PTL. Hi, Connie.
Hi.
Hi, Connie. What's on your mind?
Well, a lot of Trump, I guess, but I do believe he is trying to hide something, but I think a lot of it, I would like to follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
Stein was working for somebody.
Wasn't there thousands of transfers, Connie? Wasn't there thousands of transfers to the tune of $1.1 billion?
Billions of dollars worth.
$1.1 billion.
And and I sometimes wonder, Trump, I bet there's a lot of money laundering, and I don't think Trump is a king or a president. I think he thinks he's a mob boss.
Sure, I agree.
That's a good point, Connie, because the money would say who the people are, right? If they have the files and they track them to the money, then they're going to find out who the people were with written evidence. Correct? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's transnational organized crime, and there could be people he's blackmailing that in the files, and he needs to be able to blackmail them to get some of his stuff done.
So I agree with
mean,
you. I agree with you to an extent.
It's a
that
lot deeper than just the sex thing and the victims. And they're kind of like the what was it, the blue dress to the huge cover up of something much bigger.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little more than a blue dress, but I understand what you're saying. Connecting the
You know,
dots
I'm just saying
with
that
irrefutable
comparison,
evidence.
They're huge, big victims, and there's lots of them. But these gals made a lot of money for him.
I think money
And
is a
if
part
he
of it.
can-
I'm not gonna sit here and say you're wrong, my dear. I do think money is a part of it, but I also think Donald Trump is a very, very sick man and a sick individual who likes young girls.
One of the victims said a lot of it was cash. They
I
said
agree.
they were asking why Epstein wasn't investigated because him and the people around him pulled out $1 million in cash, and it was never investigated, never
A
looked
lot of
into.
the stuff that Donald Trump does have to do with money. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy's next up on PTL. Hey, Kathy, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I have to say, I'm just sick and tired of these MAGA people trying to defend Trump on this Jeffrey Epstein case. And David really got me upset. And what really got me upset was that him saying, why didn't the Democrats ever investigate it? First of all, we had a little thing during the Biden administration called COVID. I think people forgot about that. But secondly, and the most important thing, it's funny that they should remember that or go after Biden, but they say nothing about Trump actually nominating Alexander Acosta, who was his fixer, who was Jeffrey Epstein's fixer and attorney, as Secretary of Labor on April 28, 2017. You also had another fixer of his, Bill Barr, that covered up everything as well.
Well, I'm gonna have Leonard respond to that because Dave took my voice out of me. Go ahead, Leonard.
Well, so they're saying that Biden may have known about the Epstein files and didn't bring it up. We have no proof of that. We have proof that Donald Trump is well aware. The Department of Justice, the FBI are well aware. And remember, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were the ones who pushed the whole let's let the files out because they thought there were Democrats in there and prominent people in Hollywood, and they were making accusations, and it was like red meat to the MAGA audience, and they fed on it and fed on it. Donald Trump ran on it. They all supported him. But now all the files are in their hands. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, all the files are in their hands. And why do people keep calling like David and saying, why didn't Biden do anything when we don't even know at the time how much they actually knew?
That's 100% true. And I would also say, as you know, in the middle of Joe Biden's presidency, Maxwell was being tried. There was at least that trial that was
the push from 2018 to when she went to jail, and I think December of 21.
But it doesn't matter.
That was the push.
But here's why it doesn't even matter. Even if it's the case that Joe Biden didn't release the files because there were prominent people on the left that were on the list, it doesn't change my opinion on what Donald Trump is doing now. It's not a defense for what Donald Trump is doing.
Because he does know everything. They have people in Congress who are voting against a resolution to just release the files. They're not saying investigate. They're not saying put names out there. They're saying just give us all the files. So why are they voting no?
It's a good question. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Alicia. Alicia is next up on PTL. Hi, Alicia. What's going on?
Hi, Brian. Hi, Leonard. How are you?
Good.
Hi, long-time listener, first-time caller. Thank you. David also got me going. In response to what David said, if I am correct, the files were sealed at the time that Biden was president. The president cannot unseal court documents.
That's also true.
That's first off.
That's a good point. You're right about that. They were sealed. You're right.
And second, do they really think if they were able to unseal those documents, especially right around the election, that MAGA would have believed it in the first place? They would have thought it was just a ploy, just, bring Trump down.
Well, Trump would have said the same thing he's saying now. Don't believe them.
Exactly.
It's a hoax. They're trying to cover up for themselves. And remember, Epstein was a big key. He had all the information. He was getting ready to go on trial. And what happened? They say he committed suicide in jail, but there's a minute. Right. Sometimes people are reporting 3 minutes of video missing. What do you think happened?
Well, I also want to add to some of the idiots in the chat. Many of them are not, but a few are.
Right.
First of all, Donald Trump didn't say the list was a hoax. He said this entire conversation is a hoax.
Made by the Democrats.
Made by the Democrats. Okay. There are victims that spoke today. This is not a hoax. Many young girls, sadly, were molested sexually.
Right.
And I feel for them. This is not a hoax. Okay. There are people in the Epstein files, as the Wall Street Journal reported, Donald Trump's in the files. That is not a hoax. Okay.
Right.
If that wasn't true,
100.
Donald Trump, the Wall Street Journal, which is, by the way, not a liberal publication, they would lose everything. Trump would take everything.
Right.
It's not true.
100%.
So Donald Trump did not say the list is a hoax. He said this was a hoax. This entire Epstein thing is a hoax. He didn't say the list was a hoax. So people who make stupid comments like that obviously have no idea what they are talking about. It's very simple. Okay. While it's a tragedy, it's very simple. And I'm going to say it as it is. Jeffrey Epstein,
100%.
Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, monsters. I do not believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I believe this is a massive cover-up by the White House. I believe that Donald Trump has done some illegal things with underage girls. I believe that the last thing he wants to talk about is this, because not only is he guilty, but many people in his orbit that are very rich people are also guilty. Do I believe there are some people on the left that could be in there as well? Could be. Don't care. I want the files.
And the left is saying, let's go. The left is no one on the left is saying, oh, let's not release them. It's a hoax. Everybody on the Democrat side has voted to release the files, even if there's prominent Democrats in there. That's the difference.
Yep, I agree. Let's go to Siobhan. Siobhan is next up on PTL. Hi, Siobhan.
Hi, Brian. Look, Leonard asked why do these mega supporters still support him?
Yeah.
Knowing, that he could possibly be in the South. That's because they're all okay with it. They are completely okay with it.
But how can they be
And as a
okay
matter
with
of
something that is one of the worst crimes, one of the worst
Oh my God,
morality? And I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying that you don't have to have a certain religion or a certain belief to know what's wrong. And molesting and trafficking children for sex is inherently wrong. If you're a human being, you know it's wrong. So why are they supporting it?
Well, what are they? The GOP, or they're making it to where you can marry at 14 now. There's some laws. They have passed it in some states already.
Yeah, they're trying to lower the age in some states. I
Yes,
don't think it's
to
passed
14.
yet, but there is potential legislation that could lower the age. And let me ask you something. Why would they want to lower the age of consent to 14? 14 to me as a child. That's a little girl who's just starting to learn about the world. Why would you want to lower the rate?
It just blows me away.
You know what?
But I wanted to talk to y'all about Dave. He is the most smug, arrogant, mega. I don't want to cuss, but the way he was trying to talk to Brian like he's smarter than him, it pisses me off every time.
Well, guess what? I have
really
some.
stupid.
It pisses me off as well. I know some of you might be shocked to hear this, because as I've said before, it is not a coincidence that Donald Trump is threatening to deploy troops into a bunch of cities with black mayors. We've seen it in Chicago. We've seen it with DC. We've seen it with Baltimore. Well, guess what? This might shock some of you, but Donald Trump is now threatening to deploy the National Guard into New Orleans.
Yeah.
Guess who the mayor of New Orleans is? A black woman by the name of LaToya Cantrell. So now that is 4 cities, all with black mayors, Democrats, that Donald Trump is threatening to deploy the National Guard in at least 3 of them. He's already done that in D.C. But I'm sure that's just a coincidence. I'm sure Donald Trump is not a racist. Let me be very clear. Donald Trump is just as racist as David Duke. If he had the opportunity to wear a Klan outfit, many of his followers would probably still support him and say it was AI. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. What's up, Ray?
Hey, Brian Leonard.
Hey, Ray.
This is only an opinion. I've been following Trump for 50 years. My opinion. He's a criminal. He's a mother-frogging bum. And everything that you say, and just based on facts over 50 years. And Leonard, I talked to you Friday. I didn't get an answer from you. I think that gun control should be based on the Title III weapons. That way the kid cannot have been bought. He couldn't have had the gun and used it immediately.
I remember the call, Ray, and we've been pushing some new gun legislation like universal background checks. And I'm a big fan of holding the gun store owners responsible for not following the rules and not following the laws, selling them online to people they shouldn't.
Well,
but we don't really want to, I don't know if we want to deflect from the
No,
the
that's what I was just going to say. We're not talking about gun control today.
We want to talk about the victims.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about gun control today because that is off topic, but I do appreciate your call. There'll be plenty of other times where we will talk about it.
Somebody in the chat said they're upset because we agree on everything. I said they're very upset.
Well, have them call in then and tell us how upset they are. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Dardo. Dardo is next up on PTO. Hello, Dardo.
Hello, yeah. I got a question for both of you, Leonard and you, Brian. Why do you guys hate on Trump so much when we are the hottest country in the world?
Okay, so Dardo, let me respond to that. First of all, when you say, hold on. When you say we are the hottest country in the world, are you referring to temperature? Dardo, please be specific. How are we the hottest country in the world?
We got all the attention. Come on, guys.
Okay, so attention.
Embrace it.
Okay, hold on a second. Dardo, hang on. Let's slow down here. So Dardo, just because you have attention doesn't make you hot. There was a lot of tension on Bill Cosby, right? When he was getting charged with rape.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean that he's hot. That's not a positive thing. So explain to me.
Make it positive.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. So why would you say we're hot? Please be specific and don't say because people
We
are
got
talking
everybody
about it.
looking at us. Look at what's America
We've got
gonna do?
everybody. Okay, so your definition of
Because
positive.
they're laughing at us.
So everybody was looking at Osama bin Laden after. Hold on a second, Dardo. I need you to listen. Everybody was looking at Osama bin Laden after 9/11. Did that make Osama bin Laden hot? Was that a positive? Can you spin Osama bin Laden?
That was hot.
Okay, so you're going to make the claim that you're going to turn that into a positive when Osama bin Laden was the mastermind behind 9/11 when 4,000 innocent 4,000. Hey, dumbass, why don't you listen? Hey, dumbass, stop talking. Pot him down. You said that because you're hot and because you have attention, that's a positive. Adolf Hitler killed 7 million Jews. Can you turn that into a positive, sir? Adolf Hitler still gets a lot of attention.
Everybody knows who that is, right?
Okay, so is that a positive? No, sir. You said you could, sir. You said you could spin that into a positive if somebody's quote unquote hot. Can you please spin Adolf Hitler into a positive?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, let's hear you try, sir.
Okay, he got technology that helped us go to the moon. So what do you think about that?
You are just a sick son of a bitch.
What is he talking
you
about?
Are a
Dardo,
sick, you are a sick son of a bitch. Let me be very, very clear.
Reality?
Not only are you a sick son of a bitch and a despicable human being, but I truly pray to God that you are
deported
to Gaza right now, and you're never allowed to come back. You are a sick, demented son of a bitch.
Or Venezuela.
For you to even try to spin Adolf Hitler into a positive shows what and even if you called into the show just to joke around to get your jollies off, the man was responsible for killing 7 million Jews. He murdered 7 million Jews. And you have the gall to call into the show to try to turn Adolf Hitler into a positive makes you an absolutely despicable human being and an embarrassment, quite frankly, to your family, to your friends, and to this country, and I hope you burn in hell.
And we're getting attention because most countries are laughing at us. Xi and Putin just had a summit that they invited North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to, and you know who wasn't invited? Us, because we're not hot. They're laughing at us. The European leaders are laughing at Trump.
That was a very sick man who called
We're getting
in.
attention because they're clowning around.
Yeah,
like a bunch of ass clowns.
Anybody the guy sounded like Nick Fuentes. Let's go to Owen. Owen is next on PTL. Hey, Owen, what's going on?
Yeah, hi. What's going on?
What's up?
Yeah, man. I've been watching your show for a while, but one of the most craziest things that I'm seeing here is that you got these MAGA Republicans calling in but they act like they don't have children. I mean, I work in children and family service, and I dealt with abused children for a long time. They are fucking crazy. I mean, we are having children that's being abused in this situation.
I would love for
What's
one of
up
them to
with
call
that?
Owen and make a point. I would love for one of them, just one, to have a valid point on policy or voting record or on the Epstein files. I would love for just one of them to have a lucid, intelligent argument. And even if we don't agree, I would appreciate the fact that they had some kind of facts. These people are just calling in and clowning and saying, oh, yeah, we're the hottest country because we got attention. And then Brian gives an example of a serial killer or somebody who's a murderer or a rapist. And they're like, oh, yeah, that they were hot because they got attention. Adolf Hitler was his example. Really?
Really is unbelievable. But I wanted to see if he could spin Adolf Hitler to see how despicable and how low he would actually go. And he did. I appreciate the call,
Thanks,
my
Owen.
friend. Thank you, Owen. So thank you. 702-221-7283. Hilton is next up on PTL. Hello, Hilton.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good.
You know, I just got a chance to call in first time and everything.
Thank you.
Man, you were on point. You on point. When I say that, you on point.
Well, I
I'm
appreciate
just
that. Thank
like,
you.
That's why I agree with him a lot.
you know, see, I'm sitting up here the whole time. I live in Tucson, Arizona. Now, I looked up on your show because I was watching YouTube and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the people that call you, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a Marine veteran. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
I'm sitting over here. Thank you. I'm sitting over here. You know, there's no low for y'all. Brian, you know, when I hear about the kids, because I'm a Gen X.
Yep.
I hear about the kids, you know, they're getting shot down in school and stuff. And, you know, I think about when I was growing up. Now, it might not have been the best, but it was fun. We didn't have to worry about active shooter drills.
Exactly.
and
Let me ask you
stuff.
something, Hilton. You think Trump's in the Epstein files? Is it your feeling that he's in there? Do you think that's common sense?
Oh, he in there. Let me tell you something. I'm from Miami, Florida, originally. Now, the things I heard about, oh, Lord. I know people that work for Trump. He in them files. Trust and believe that.
I don't
He
think
in
there's any
there.
doubt. I don't think there's any doubt. I agree with you, my friend, and I appreciate your call, and you call back anytime. Thank you, and thank you for your service to
Thank
this
you for your
country.
service, Hilton.
We appreciate you. Let's go to Catherine. Catherine is next up on PTL. Hey, Catherine, what's going on?
Call back.
Catherine, are you there? Okay, we just lost Catherine, I believe.
Super chat.
Let's go to the MAGA destroyer. Of course, we have to go to Darlene. Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard.
Hi, Darlene.
My favorite guest. Listen, guys, I'm going to try to keep this calm because I'm laying in the hospital. I've been in here for 4 days.
Oh, I'm
so
so sorry.
I just want y'all to know that's why I haven't called in.
I'm so
But-
sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm cool. Anyway, David, and to that other idiot, it's men like you why women are becoming lesbians. Do you understand? And another thing, David,
So people
I
like David are
dare
making
you.
lesbians? Wow.
I dare you, David, to go up to one of the victims and sit there and look them in the face and talk like you were talking to Brian and Leonard. Because, honey, you would have your head knocked off so fast. How dare you say that these women did not basically get molested from Trump? I'm going to say it. Trump molested a lot of damn women in there. I'm sorry, guys. I can't get loud. I'm getting trouble.
Darlene, I want you
Go ahead.
I want you to be calm. We wish you the best of luck if you're in the hospital, my dear. And I know there's a lot of people.
We hope you're okay. We'll send you
There's a lot of
prayers.
people that are pulling for you, Darlene. Please call back again tomorrow and let us know how you're doing. Chab is next up Catherine is next up on PTL. Hi, Catherine. What's going on?
Hi. Can you hear me this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Hi.
God, I don't even know. I mean, I got like a zillion thoughts going through my mind. I'm angry, upset. I just cannot believe what is happening. But you know what I really feel bad about? The victims and the victims' families. Can I elaborate on something?
Sure. Yep.
It's going to be 10 years today that my sister was robbed, kidnapped, raped, sodomized, set on fire, and left for dead.
Sorry to hear that.
So sorry.
And she is still here. She calls herself a survivor. She faced the guy that did this to her.
Wow.
He just said, "That's not me. I don't know. I guess I did it, but no, it's just not me." I could not believe in court. And then this is like on YouTube, her case. I'm not going to say her name, but when I see these comments about, oh, she was probably doing it with him and she had it coming, I would just fight for 10 years. It's like I don't even go to that anymore because people I don't know what is wrong with people.
I'm so sorry she had to go through that. That's terrible, and I'm sorry to hear her.
Horrible.
I will also say that
these
the same
people that came up,
the same people that make those statements are also the same people that voted for Donald Trump that make excuses for him every day.
Exactly.
And it's unconscionable. And I wish your sister, I'm sorry, is that you said it was your sister, my dear?
Yeah. We're really sorry to hear that news, and hopefully she can recover.
53 years old. And her life she's here, but it's not the same.
Well, listen,
and
my
as
thoughts,
she is,
my thoughts go out.
It affects us,
Of
our
course,
families.
it affects your entire family
For
and
decades.
friends.
They said for decades they can't forget it. They can't trust anyone. They can't sleep alone. So yes, it affected them very badly.
I wish your daughter, or I'm sorry, your sister the best, and I'm so sorry, my dear. Let's go to Chab. Chab is next up on PTL. What's up, Chab?
See, what kills me is these Republicans. I got two things to say. These Republicans want to call the Democrats the pedophiles and stuff. But you look at all the people get arrested for it, it's mostly white Republican men. And it blows me away how they don't see that.
No, all I'm simply saying is that it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. It shouldn't matter what the color of your skin is. A crime is a crime, and they come in all shapes and sizes and colors. And I just want the victims to get, some justice. And and while I agree with you, usually it is a young white person that at least commits these school shootings and these mass shootings. But I don't want to focus on race. I don't want to focus on gender. Heck, I don't even want to focus on right or left. I just want the victims to get justice,
That's what all the good people are hoping for.
I'm a Democrat big time, but if they've done something like that, put them in jail. I don't care if
I agree.
That's
the difference. But sir, that's the difference between Republicans and Democrats today. All Democrats are voting for release the files, but Republicans are defending their Sir Turd leader. I have about 30 seconds for Winnie. Winnie is next up on PTL. Hi, Winnie. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Hey, I just wanted to offer, people always wonder what makes a MAGA supporter. And it's because I think that we're a representative democracy. And, when love doesn't really work, it's not love, it's more like an infatuation. It's because that person becomes the mirror of your spiritual self.
Yeah.
And so I think
I
that's
agree.
the worship there. And what's that?
I said I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah.
So you think they worship him because he's accused of the types of crimes he's accused of?
Yeah, they're him. They want freedom to
I think
do
some
that.
of them. I think some of them are either that's the case,
Thanks,
or
Winnie.
maybe they're. Thank you, Winnie, or they're complicit. But I think that could be a small percentage of them, Winnie. I'm not saying you're wrong by any stretch of the imagination. Please check out my friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Man, they've got some great promotions today. And the more you play, you get into this electrical drum. And at the end of the month, they're giving away some very expensive watches, by the way. So you are not
I can use an expensive
Yes,
watch.
that's right. You'll be in this electric drum to win a very expensive watch. They're giving away multiple watches, so you're certainly going to want to play. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great food, great atmosphere. Tell them that I sent you. Well, Leonard,
that went quick.
I can't imagine this is going to go over well within the MAGA base, at least what transpired today, as we put up some of those in the YouTube Super Chat, and we certainly appreciate your support of the show. Dr. Seuss, David needs his head examined. You're right about that. Alexa, Kenny Hawk said the file's sealed until January. You're right about that. Thank you, Shelley, for your support as well, and everybody else in the YouTube Super Chat for chiming in. Dying breed, we are the weakest we have ever been. Our allies are adapting without us, and our enemies are joining forces to defeat us after 80 years of being the beacon of right. God help us. Yeah, I agree. I agree with them. Leonard, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was a very
it was a little
emotions
tough.
are high.
Yeah,
Emotions are high today, and when you have people call in that defend the indefensible, it gets. I lose my voice. It happens from time.
It's
to time.
good though. It's good showing
It is.
people that there are good voices out there.
Absolutely, Leonard, you're one of them, and I appreciate you coming in as always. You did a great job helping
That's
me
great.
last week, and look forward to catching up with you next week. Okay.
All right, Brian. Thanks.
Thanks, Leonard. All right, Wajahat Ali will be joining us on the show tomorrow, folks. We'll see you same time, same place. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone